about bullying, and I believe you may recognize this.
Looking for a bodyguard?
I work for the hardest gangsters in the world. See Lolo, Shinobi? Hell, still work for Tupac even though he dead.
I'm Israeli military secret service.
Oh, damn! I'll go beat their ass right here, right now.
Look no further.
I'm Drillbit Taylor. As a bodyguard, I've protected 3 vice presidents, Bobby Brown and Sylvester Stallone. Not quite as tough as he looks. Who do you guys need protection from?
Just a high school bully.
Help me!
You know what this is? It's a wing, and you're under it. All 3 of you, right there.
This is very disturbing.
Using my expertise at stealthy covert ops, I'll infiltrate the school. Oh!
Teacher's lounge. It's right over there. What do you teach?
English.
Native tongue.
Now, it isn't all Oriental martial arts. Sometimes you give a little Mexican judo, as in you don't know who you're messing with, Paul.
Take a punch. Let me go first.
10 being the hardest. How hard do you want?
5, in the back.
I get a kick out of these kids. You're really getting into this whole teacher thing here, huh?
As long as you got a coffee cup in your hand, nobody says anything.
Hello, fellow teacher.
This spring.
Stop hassling these kids.
So one way to take care of being a bully is to become a teacher.
Exactly.
This?
What is he wearing?
It's a poncho.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Okay, stop picking on the outfit. I wanted to talk a little bit about diversity. Inside your folders, if you'll open them up on the left-hand side, you have an index card. I want you to think about your past. We're going to see if you've had any experience with either being a bully or being a victim. That's what I was afraid of. Okay, how do we start it again? I'm used to PC.
Go to the bottom, you need bottom off.
Oh, there it is. Okay. My name's John Casebolt. We're going to talk about bullying in schools today. It is this controller, isn't it?
Try sliding.
You have to turn that on, though.
On the side, there's a slide bar.
Ah. Yeah, on works.
It should.
Right on. Okay, I want you to take your cards. Don't want you to put your name on it. But up in the top left corner, I want you to put a B for bully if you've ever been involved in bullying another student. Or I want you to put a V for victim if you've ever been a victim of a bully. And you can put B and B if you've done both. Like I said, I don't want names on these. When you got it, give me a thumbs up. Okay? Turn the cards over so I can't see who's whose. And I'll take my phone. All I wanted was a B.
Seriously.
Oh, you didn't want me to write out?
No.
Oh.
I'll give you another card.
I do that same thing too, so.
Just a B or a V.
B or a V.
Or both.
Well, give an example on two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go.
We'll mix these up so we don't know whose is whose. Got the cards.
Do you want me to put you know an example?
No. Okay, bully. Used to beat up my siblings. Close enough. We have a victim. We have another victim. Stay in class. He made fun of me. She laughed and pointed at me. Okay. Another victim, victim, victim. Bully and victim. Bully and victim. Okay. We'll come back to these later. But you are familiar with some aspect of bullying. You've either been bullied, you
spelled survey wrong. What an idiot.
Bully,
He's still teaching up.
Did you get to grad school back in that?
okay. Okay, I made a mistake, okay?
Whatever.
We'll fix it.
Oh, wow. That was nice planned. That's good.
Yes, it was a plant.
Yes.
But I wanted you to get a glimpse of bullying is not just beating somebody up. Some of the different types of bullying. We got physical violence or threats. We talked about that, beating up siblings, things like that. Verbal and physical bullying, or psychological bullying, making fun of students. You know, making fun of what they wear, you know, just because they dress a little different than you do, making fun of, you know, a mistake they might have made in class. Cyberbullying is becoming a very big problem. We need to be aware of that as teachers. Sexting or sexual harassment. I cannot believe that the guy's name was actually Wiener. And the choking game. Who's heard of the choking game? Would one of you all like to explain what the choking game is for your classmates?
Isn't it basically where kids get together and choke themselves almost to the point of death, where they almost, it gets the adrenaline pumping and almost gives them
gives them a high.
Yeah, it gives them a high. So.
Yeah, they get a high because the oxygen flow to the brain is cut off. And, you know, this has been a problem for several years now. There have actually been deaths attributed to this. You know, and they call it a game, but it's really not a game. You know, somebody's getting hurt. What if I say the words think, McFly, think? Who do you think of? Not Brown. Does anybody recognize where this comes from? If you recognize, give me a thumbs up. Okay, we've got a few. I was afraid of this one just because it is a few years old, but it is Biff Tannen.
Oh, is it? Okay.
What's a bully look like? This is Biff here. Do we have a laser pointer on this?
Sure.
This is Biff. Anybody seen the movie Back to the Future?
That's it.
Yes. But I want you to look at the picture and tell me what you see here. All right, this is the bully.
Take one of
The
Yeah.
one guy only thinks in 2 dimensions.
Visually challenged, yes.
Let's see. Anger.
Okay, anger.
He's kind of leading the pack. He's pointing.
He's leading the pack.
That's rude.
He's also a little bit bigger than everybody else. And he's got some cronies with him.
What's a crumb?
Do all bullies look like this? What do you think?
No.
You think bullies look like this?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Andrew's over here. Please take my lunch money. But these were the Fab Five. Does anybody know the story? Of what? The Fab Five.
Is that the cheerleaders from Texas?
Yes. This is the Texas cheerleaders that ran the town, pretty much. One of them's mom was the principal at the school. And they just destroyed life after life after life and got away with it because of who they were and who they were related to. Classroom attitudes. The tone of the classroom and the tone of the school has an impact on the acceptance level of bullying. This came from one of the research articles that I ran across. I want you to open your folders back up and the first page on the left side, pull that out. Can I have you two guys come over and join this group and you guys join this group? at the
You're over here.
I want you to look at the article. It's this one. Oops, sorry. Make sure you got the right one. I think I have it in order. But I want you to look. I want this group to look at the characteristics of bullies. I want you guys to concentrate on the victims and discuss from past experiences, from bullies that you may have known or victims you may have known, depending on which group you're in, and really get familiar with who these folks are. If you've got any questions about anything, I'll be here to just take a couple minutes. And
We're doing comments.
yes. While you're reading over this, do you recognize any of these traits? And think of who comes to mind when you.
Worker. Case in point A.
Okay, I think we're supposed to be discussing with our home groups. We'll have time to interact here in a minute.
He's bullying.
It's something else.
Because you have this strong desire for control over other bullies.
He's trying to.
And he's obviously physically violent.
Yeah, exactly. So he has he is also
So it's continual.
he doesn't and his actions do come it's like that one. It is true. Because what happens when you address that, he has some yeah, normally, and normally he's just like minus that one.
His true personality.
The only thing that doesn't make sense is, oh wait, no. He has low, yeah, he has low average, low average. What, average or above average?
Okay, let's take about another minute.
They have a larger fan. Yeah.
Inside the self-esteem,
Yeah, but
but
they make
outside
people
of that.
think.
Often a little.
Right.
It's a cycle.
No wonder why they from our state, that's why.
Yeah. The state's because it's from Murray.
I wouldn't want to read it. It is, the article's from Murray State. Probably not true, though, yeah. Nothing.
Guys, stop bullying me.
He explicitly stated me as a bully. I'm like,
Okay. So, did you come up with anything that surprised you? Or do the character traits pretty much fit what you had in mind for either a bully or a victim? Okay.
we talked about how it says above average or above average self-esteem. Like in a lot of our personal experiences, we felt like a lot of times the bullies had actually had lower self-esteem, and that's why they were trying to compensate to make other people feel worse about themselves.
Not always.
Right, not always, but
Bullies come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes. And when you get the captain of the football team that's the bully, you know, he's full of himself. He's got a lot of high self-esteem. You know, it's not necessarily the captain of the football team, it could be the captain of the wrestling team. Or could be the cheerleaders. You know, but in general there are self-esteem issues, and that's the reason that you see these guys. Yeah. One of the things that you're going to run into with bullies is their popularity level tends to fall off outside their own little group. Not always, but in general. And that's why you see wolves running in packs. You don't see too many lone bullies. They've always got one or two buddies, maybe 3 or 4. And that's part of the reason the street gangs get popular, so you can be included. What about victims? Sorry, not too far. Anything stick out to you guys, or pretty much what you had in mind for a victim?
It all keyed into people I'd known, but I'd forgotten when I started thinking about reading the title about the sort of provocative victims, people who seem to go picking fights and get bullied, but they continue to do that sort of thing. Kind of strange.
Now I want you to switch lists. I want you guys to look at, just go down the bully list. I want you guys to go down the victim list, and I want you to come up with connections of why the bully would be drawn to what the victim represents. Take just a couple minutes to look over that. And you guys can go ahead and discuss if anything sticks out. You know, just jumps off the page at you.
You know, a lot of it's, yeah, maybe where I just didn't know.
They're easy.
I should remember. What was I thinking? I had so much.
So that relates back to power.
I'm like 10, 13, and I totally did that.
Easy.
From all the allowances that I'm
So anybody see anything that stands out to them why the bully would be drawn to a certain victim? Or what would make a victim stand out more to a bully?
Because the bully sees the victim as being an easy target. Because they're already being picked on or made fun of. Okay. I guess see that and feel like that's an easy target for them for power and control. And it also, if they don't tell others, then they can get away with it.
Ooh, they can get away with it. We're going to come back to that.
Also, if they're often alone in groups, then it's easy to single them out. They don't seem to have any reinforcements in the sport.
What about you guys? Anything stand out to you, or pretty much the same?
Comparison.
Well, I got one. You know, the whole adult role in bullying. The bully succeeds in keeping it from the adults, and therefore victims don't think adults can help.
Plus, they don't want to tell the adults because they're afraid the bully will
Make it worse.
Yep.
So they don't want to tell their parents because they're afraid that those parents might contact the parents of the bully. And the bully will come to school the next day and make it wrong.
Okay. The purpose for this was to get you guys familiar with some of the characteristics of not only the bully, but also the victim. And the reason we wanted to do that is because as teachers, a lot of times we're not going to see the bullying go on. It's going to happen in the hallway, it's going to happen in the bathrooms, it's going to happen on the school bus, on the playground. It's not going to happen in the classroom in general, because there is a teacher there. There is an authority figure there, unless the attitude of the classroom allows bullying. If the teacher lets one student pick on somebody else, or lets a group of students pick on another group of students, then it's going to go on. And it's going to get worse out in the hallways. The attitude that we portray in the classroom toward this situation is crucial to stopping bullying in our schools, especially since we're going into some high-need schools. It's not necessarily an indicator that there's going to be more bullying. We talked to a couple of teachers yesterday at lunch, and they said that they didn't know of any bullying problems. I want you to take out the next paper. This is the JCPS policies on alcohol, tobacco, drug prevention, but this is the violence prevention list from JCPS website. You don't have to go over that right now. I just want to make sure that you've got this, because this is the official school policy, the district policy on how to handle violence. A lot of the strategies for handling violence would apply also to, verbal and things like that. It's not just, some kid getting beat up. But I want you to have that. The next thing I want you to pull out is this little brochure. This came from the Kentucky Center for School Safety. It's KentuckySafeSchools.org. It has a lot of really good references for you, websites that you can go to get information. This is actually linked from JCPS. But this was a brochure for students to let them think about, am I a bully? Am I engaging in practices? That's just another resource for you. I'll give you a minute to look over that. Okay. Yes.
I had an instance when I was in 5th grade, when a teacher asked me a question about whether I'd had breakfast in the morning or not, and I said that my mother had not made breakfast, and I had another classmate that said that when he ate donuts, and it was, how do you handle that in the classroom as a teacher? When someone bullies you like that? Because it was, I still feel like, well, I'm just asking, because I want to know how to handle it.
That is cool. We're going to get to that in just a second. Okay. If you will, pull out the next page. Yes, this one. It's a wonderful article from the Chit Chat, which is the Wagner High School newspaper. And it's just a little segment of an article, a sidebar, if you will, from a huge article in 2009 on bullying. And apparently Wagner had a pretty good problem with that. This is the reason that we use research-based strategies. How do you deal with that pesky bully? I'm going to jump down to right here just below the picture on the left-hand side, left column, where it says number 1. These are strategies that was recommended. Now, granted, this is not research-based. This was written, I believe, by a student. You could just ignore what the people are saying to you, because 9 times out of 10, the bully is just insecure about himself, and the only way for a bully to cope with what is going on in his or her life is to take it out on others. Just ignore it, it'll go away. Step 2, don't respond to the taunting. By responding to his or her comments, he or she is getting just what he or she wants. He or she will feed off your frustration with them, and it just gives them more fuel. If you just sit there calmly and keep your thoughts to yourself, the bully might just fade away. Put your head in the sand and all's well. Oh, 3 was my favorite. Here it is, yes. If you're having trouble with keeping calm, just close your eyes, count to 10, and go to a happy place. This should help clear your mind and get you to a happy thought that will put him or her out of your head. So remember, if you have a student who's getting the snot beat out of them, tell them to go to a happy place. Yes. Okay, we don't need to read the rest of this, but I just wanted you to see how important research-based material is. Oh, wrong direction. What can we do as teachers? You asked, what can we do, you know, when the kids in the 5th grade are picking on you because they think you eat too many donuts? Increase awareness of bullying. You know, you don't have to have lectures all the time, but let your students know that you are aware of situations. That's going to do 2 things. It's going to let the bully know that, uh-oh, they're on to me. And 2, it's going to let the other students that may be victims know that they can come to you because you are aware of what's going on. And you do here. Recognize the bully. That was the reason for giving you guys the lists of what a bully and what a victim looks like. If you can focus, you know, or if you can pick out who's more likely to bully, you know, then you can work with them. And I'm not saying that you have to go over and strong arm and say, you know, you guys need to quit picking on Josh, which, by the way, we probably do because we pick on him a little too much. Yeah, Katie. But just to build a relationship with that student, okay? Also, recognize the victim. This is going to be crucial because, like I said, you may not be able to recognize the bully. And it may be easier to recognize the victim. There again, build a relationship with the students. Take charge. Oh, but get involved, you know. And at this point, depending on what's going on, it may be something as simple as saying, hey, you know, that action's not appropriate. It may have to go as far as getting the principal or the school resource officer involved. And, you know, we don't have time to cover all the gambit of situations, but that's something that we need to look at as teachers. Assist the victims. Help them belong. Help them fit in. The first day of class, we started building a team environment in the classroom. If we can do that and make our classrooms a place where students feel safe to make mistakes in a PowerPoint or accepted to come in with their favorite poncho, you know, and be part of that classroom, that's going to do a lot to cut down on bullying. Understand the role of prevention. Know that being proactive and doing these things ahead of time is, you know, going to put you light years ahead of where some of my teachers were back in the day when it was just totally ignored. Help students with relaxation and coping. Once you've been bullied, especially if it's physical or extremely emotional bullying, it's going to be hard to sit in that same classroom with, you know, that student. You know, even though the bullying may have stopped, they still need to work, you know, and this is a good time to bring in the guidance counselor, you know, to have a one-on-one with the students if need be. You know, we don't have some of the tools that, you know, to go into the deeper emotions. But these are just some of the things you can do. And this was all research-based in the article. The last page in your folders is the bibliography of where all this came from so that you guys can go look it up. I highly recommend the articles. And here's some resources that JCPS has for violence prevention. This is on their website. We as teachers in JCPS, we need to focus on helping the students learn. If a student is worried about, you know, they just got bullied on the way to school, it's going to be hard to get them engaged if their mind's on that. It's going to be hard for a student to explore new ideas if the kid sitting across the table from them is the one that, you know, has been picking on them. Or if they're a bully, it's going to be hard if they're sitting there thinking about, I'm going to beat this kid up. So both ways. But here's the references. Now, one last thing. I'm sorry I'm running a little bit long, but I'm just going to hand out cards at random. If you get your card, that's fine. But I want you to write down one or two characteristics of how you could identify. If you've got a V, identify a victim. If you have a B, identify a bully. If you have both, you can do either one. But just take about a minute and you got that? I'll take one.
Oh, I'm fine. Everybody else needs to be.
I made up one